Hey there, friends. Buckle up for an incredible, heartwarming story that'll make you laugh, maybe shed a tear, and definitely leave you inspired. Picture this: a sunny afternoon, a quiet little town, and an 82-year-old man named James Harris, sitting tall on his trusty 1970 Harley-Davidson. The engine roars like a thunderstorm, and James? Well, he's got the kind of calm, steady gaze that tells you he's seen a thing or two in his long, adventurous life. But what happens when a routine traffic stop turns into a moment no one will ever forget? Let's dive in. It all starts at a red light on the edge of town, where James Harris, with his weathered hands steady on the handlebars, waits patiently on his old Harley. The bike's a classic, a 1970 shovelhead, a little rusty but full of character, just like James himself. He's not out here to show off. This bike gets him where he needs to go, and that's all that matters. For 40 years, James has been waking up at 5 a.m. every single day, running his small farm 10 miles outside of town with the kind of discipline that's woven into his very soul. He's a man who knows every bolt and gear on his 1978 John Deere tractor, which, by the way, broke down yesterday. Darn hydraulic system. But today, he's just riding into town, minding his own business, when flashing police lights appear in his rearview mirror. Out steps Officer Ava Johnson, a confident 28-year-old with 3 years on the city patrol. She's got mirrored sunglasses, a sharp stride, and a tone that says she means business. "Is this some kind of joke?" she asks, a playful smirk on her face as she eyes James and his old bike. "Sir, shut off that junk right now and step off the motorcycle." Her partner, Officer David Lopez, chuckles nearby, glancing at the Harley. "Man, this thing's older than my dad. Look at all that rust." "Now, James?" He doesn't flinch. He sits there, hands steady, eyes locked on the horizon like he's staring into a memory from decades ago. He hands over his license and registration from a worn-out brown leather wallet, everything neat and organized. Ava takes one look at his ID and raises an eyebrow. 82 years old? Don't you think you're a bit too old to be riding a motorcycle? David chimes in, grinning. "Hands on the bike, sir. Feet apart." The officers search the bike, unnecessary, and they know it. A small crowd starts to gather, murmuring among themselves. "Poor old man," someone whispers. "Don't these cops have better things to do?" Another voice adds, "He looks kinda confused. Somebody should call his family." The world, as it so often does, splits between compassion and judgment, especially when people don't know the whole story. And oh, what a story James Harris carries. See, what Ava and David don't know is that James isn't just any old man. For over 60 years, he served his country with courage and honor: 3 tours in Vietnam, intelligence operations in the Gulf and Afghanistan, 2 Bronze Stars, 2 Purple Hearts with 4 oak leaf clusters, and a Distinguished Service Cross. He's trained hundreds of soldiers, including some of the best officers in the U.S. Army. To the military, Colonel James Harris is a living legend. But to these officers, he's just an old guy on a rusty bike, and they're about to learn a lesson they'll never forget. Across the street, Marcus Williams, a 58-year-old Gulf War veteran who owns the gas station, watches the scene unfold. James has been filling up at Marcus's station for 15 years. Always polite, always on time with payments, always with a kind word. Marcus's blood boils as he sees James being humiliated. He grabs his phone and dials the nearby Fort Carson military base. "Hello, this is Marcus Williams. I need to speak with an officer on duty, and it's urgent." Back at the scene, things are escalating. Ava's voice grows sharper, irritated by James's calm silence. "Sir, you're going to have to come with us to the station." James finally speaks, his voice low and steady, like a gentle stream over smooth stones. "And what for?" Ava pauses, then doubles down. "For inappropriate behavior and failure to properly respond to a law enforcement officer. Also, you need a medical evaluation before you even think about riding that motorcycle again." James looks at her with the same patience he once showed 18-year-old recruits who thought they knew everything about life. He could tell them his reflexes were tested 6 months ago, that he exercises daily, that his coordination is sharper than most men half his age. But he doesn't. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. David tries a softer approach. Mr. Harris, you understand our concern, right? A man your age riding a bike like that, it could be dangerous. For you, for other drivers. James's reply is simple. I've been riding for 65 years. I've never caused an accident. Ava's not backing down. Mr. Harris, I'm going to need you to get in the vehicle. We're taking you to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. James raises an eyebrow. I'm not going. Ava hesitates. There's no law that allows her to detain an elderly man just for riding a motorcycle, no regulation mandating a psych evaluation without cause. But now she's in too deep, with a crowd filming and whispering. Elder protection law, she says, grasping at straws. Behavior that puts your own safety at risk. James smiles, a small, almost invisible smile, the kind that comes from recognizing a well-crafted lie. He's heard worse from enemies far more dangerous. Officer Johnson, may I ask you a question? How many years have you been in service? Ava bristles. Mr. Harris, get in the vehicle. Now. I'm not going, he repeats calmly. Then I'll have to use force, she warns. Marcus, still watching from across the street, feels a surge of admiration. Whoever James Harris is, this man has courage that runs deeper than the ocean. The crowd senses it too. The air crackles with tension. Something big is about to happen. And then it does. A deep roar echoes in the distance, growing louder by the second. 12 Humvees come speeding around the bend, kicking up dust as they screech to a halt in a semicircle around the scene. 50 soldiers pour out, standing tall and disciplined. From the lead vehicle steps Captain George Farrell, 55 years old, with 22 years of active service. He strides straight toward James, ignoring the officers completely. 3 meters away, he stops and snaps a crisp salute. Colonel Harris. The word colonel hits the air like a thunderclap. Ava and David exchange panicked glances. Captain Farrell turns to them, his eyes sharp as a blade. Who dared to stop Colonel Harris? Ava tries to regain control. Officer Johnson, local police. We stopped this gentleman because... Farrell cuts her off, his voice rising. This gentleman? This man served 3 tours in Vietnam, carried out intelligence operations in the Gulf and Afghanistan, and personally trained hundreds of U.S. Army officers, including myself. He holds 2 Bronze Stars, 2 Purple Hearts with 4 oak leaf clusters, and a Distinguished Service Cross. Colonel Harris is a living legend in the United States Armed Forces. The crowd gasps. Cell phones are still rolling, but the murmurs have changed. Poor guy, that was awful, someone says. That officer really crossed the line. Farrell continues, his voice steady but firm. Officer, you disrespected a decorated war hero who gave 60 years of his life to serve your country. David tries to step in. We were just doing our job. Farrell's response is swift. Your job is to protect and serve, not to humiliate an old man in public. Ava steps closer to James, her voice softer now. Sir, Colonel Harris, I'm sorry. I didn't know. James looks at her, his eyes kind but unwavering. Officer Johnson, may I offer you some advice? Never judge someone by their appearance. You have no idea what battles they've fought, what scars they carry inside. The lesson lands like a gentle wave, rippling through Ava, the crowd, and everyone watching those shaky cell phone videos. Farrell turns to James. Colonel, is there anything you need? An escort? Transportation? James shakes his head, a twinkle in his eye. No, Captain, but thank you for coming. Farrell smiles. Sir, we'll always be here. Always. With that, James walks back to his Harley. The soldiers form a corridor of honor, standing tall as the old shovelhead roars to life. The crowd watches in awe as James rides off, the deep rumble of his bike echoing through the town like a song of resilience and dignity. An hour later, at the local police station, Sheriff Smith, a 52-year-old veteran of 15 years in office, gets a call from Fort Carson. Sheriff Smith, this is Captain Farrell. We need to talk about the incident this morning. Smith sighs, he's already spoken with Ava and David. Captain, my officers made a mistake in judgment. not a crime. Farrell's voice is calm but firm. Colonel Harris doesn't want revenge. He's not suing anyone, and he doesn't want to ruin anyone's career. But we, as a military institution, cannot accept our veterans being treated this way. Smith nods, understanding the weight of the situation. What do you suggest? Farrell's answer is clear. A training program developed in partnership with us. Your officers will visit our base to learn what it truly means to serve this country. Smith agrees. It'll be done, Captain. 1 week later, Sheriff Smith gathers every officer in the precinct for an emergency meeting. Starting today, we're implementing a new protocol for field encounters, and all of you will be attending training at Fort Carson. Ava stands, her voice trembling but sincere. Colleagues, last week I made a serious mistake. I disrespected a man who deserves our deepest admiration. But I learned something more important than procedures or regulations. I learned about human dignity. Every person we stop on the street carries a story. This is about treating everyone, especially the elderly, with respect. Asking before assuming. Listening before judging. Days later, Ava drives down Highway 340, her heart pounding. She pulls up to a simple but well-kept property. A white wooden house, a porch with rocking chairs, a garden bursting with colorful flowers, and that familiar John Deere tractor parked by the barn. James is underneath it, grease-stained coveralls and all, working on that pesky hydraulic system. His Harley rests in the shade of a big oak tree. Ava takes a deep breath and walks over. Colonel Harris? James slides out, wipes his hands on a rag, and gives her a warm smile. Officer Johnson, can I help you? Sir, I came to talk, if that's all right with you. James nods. Want some coffee? Just made a fresh pot. Inside his modest kitchen, he pours coffee into 2 blue ceramic mugs and motions for Ava to sit at the old wooden table. Officer, may I ask you a few questions? Ava's caught off guard but nods. Of course. Why did you become a police officer? She pauses, then answers honestly. I wanted to help people, make a difference in the community. James leans forward. How many accidents caused by elderly drivers have you responded to? Ava thinks. Very few, actually. Most accidents I see are caused by younger drivers. Drunk, speeding, texting. James smiles gently. Then why did you assume I was the problem? Ava can't answer. The truth stings. She judged him by his age, his bike, his appearance. James stands and looks out the window at his cows grazing in the pasture. Respect isn't earned just by a uniform or a rank. It's earned by how you treat others, no matter their age. Ava follows his gaze to the Harley, realizing he's been riding it longer than she's been alive. That old, rusty bike still roars. It still works. It still has roads to travel, just like Colonel Harris. Just like all of us. As the sun sets over the farm, Ava drives away, a little wiser, a little humbler. And James? He's back under that tractor, fixing what's broken, living his life with the same courage and grace he's always had. Because every person, every rusty bike, every quiet moment carries a story. A story of battles fought, lessons learned, and roads yet to travel. So, friends, if this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's keep sharing stories that remind us to see the beauty, the strength, and the dignity in everyone we meet. Until next time, keep your heart open and your eyes on the horizon.